Well, hello everyone, and welcome to AiArthritis Voices 360. This is the official talk show for the International Foundation for Autoimmune and Autoinflammatory Arthritis, or AiArthritis for short. My name is Leila P.L. Valete, and I am one of your co-hosts today. I am a person living with lupus and Sjögren's disease, and I am the Health Education Manager here at AiArthritis. And I am joined by our amazing CEO and original founder, Tiffany Westrich-Robertson.
Hi, everyone. So I am so excited to be here on the show today with Layla. And I am also a person living with non-radiographic axial spondyloarthritis. And all of the public facing staff at our organization are people living with the diseases. So we say we don't represent the patient voice, we are the patient voice. And we're so excited to be here today to talk about a very exciting, novel, first of its kind in the autoimmune, autoinflammatory world called CAR T therapy. It's a form of precision medicine, which really is about diving into patient subgroups, to different molecular signatures, to your DNA, to all of these things that make you what you are precisely. And that's where science is going so that we don't have to figure out by trial and error how to best treat our diseases. But even more than that, this takes the treatments past biologics and some of the things that have been our novel treatments for the last few decades. And we are so excited that this has moved from the cancer space into our space. And we are covering this with the help and the support from a grant from Bristol Myers Squibb. So thank you to BMS for the amazing opportunity to help educate our community about what we're learning when we go to conferences and our Go With Us to Conferences program. So if you want to know more about how you can learn from us, from your peers about all of this new CAR T therapy, what it means to you, how you could potentially get involved, make sure you go to aiarthritis.org/conferences, and there you can sign up to go with us. We go twice a year, and we're going to be featuring CAR T as we move forward for the next several years. So please, that's how you can, if you love what you're hearing today, which I don't know why you wouldn't, please go with us to conferences because this is going to be something we're going to be talking about a lot.
Absolutely. And our next one that we're going to is the biggest rheumatology conference in the world. It's American College of Rheumatology, October 24th to 29th. So stay tuned and sign up so that you can see all of the behind the scenes that's going on during that conference if you sign up for our elevated experience. So we're super excited to have you with us. And I just wanted to mention that this is actually one of Tiff's first times in a while being on the show since I've taken over as the main host. But it's because she has been able to focus a little bit more in her arena, which is research. So that's why she's here with us today, because this is a huge research topic that Tiffany said we've been talking about for years. Probably the past 3-4 years has been like little intros to us getting to know CAR T therapy. And you can kind of see some of those videos on our Go With Us playlist. So you'll see on that page, aiarthritis.org/conferences, you'll be able to see all of our previous Go With Us videos there too, so that you can check out some information that we had in the past on CAR T. But since this is our first time bringing it up here on the talk show, I wanted to go start from the basics and give, what is CAR T therapy? From just the name, you can't really tell anything of what this means or what it does. So CAR T actually stands for chimeric antigen receptor T cell therapy. And for me, that even kind of sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. What does that mean? So it's a type of treatment where your own immune cells, your T cells, are collected and they're reprogrammed to better target harmful B cells, and then the T cells are put back into your body to help reset your immune system. So it's like giving your immune system a software update, so it stops attacking your own tissues, with which is what happens with all autoimmune diseases. And so CAR T is not a drug that you take daily or weekly. It's more of a one-time or very limited treatment that has potential to lead to long-term remission or even completely stop disease in people. And currently, it's being studied in lupus, lupus nephritis, myositis, scleroderma. There's even some starting in Sjögren's, but those are more of the complex autoimmune diseases that we have. And so once they're able to figure out if it works for these more complex diseases, then they'll start doing trials to see how it'll be in other autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, like psoriatic arthritis, or like axial spondyloarthritis. So just hearing that this is on the horizon and that people are possibly having up up to 5 to 10 years of long-term drug-free remission, is something that we've never really heard of in our space. So, it's super exciting to kinda see those examples of what's happening with this new novel treatment.
Yeah, a couple of things I wanna point out and kinda highlight what Layla said too, is that, these are newer, and when we're talking about 6 years or so in remission, that's because that's all we know, because the clinical trials in CAR T in our diseases started about 6, 7, about, within the last decade, and so these people who have gone through it are still in remission. And when we say remission, which I know is a different word for different people, 100% no disease activity where it is like they never had the disease. Complete total remission. And they have been showing us stories like there was a pediatric lupus patient, 15 years old, went into dialysis and during the CAR T cell production process and was rescued. Oh God, you're going to have to help me with some of these words, Layla.
Yeah, she's rescued, let's see, rescued from, from hemodialysis. So, basically, she was starting dialysis because her lupus nephritis got so bad during that time, but once they did the CAR T cell, infusion into her, she showed dramatic improvement to the fact that even in her biopsy samples, that it was showing there as well. And that's huge with lupus nephritis because when you get to the point that you're on dialysis, that means that it got pretty bad. So she was on the very higher end of acuity of how tough her lupus nephritis was to deal with and went into complete drug-free remission afterwards.
I mean, it's truly amazing. I remember the first time that I saw a presentation on CAR T, and I was at the American College of Rheumatology conference, and they were showing video clips of patients, and what I mean completely bedridden patients could not walk on their own, and then they showed them very soon after these treatments, which Layla will go through a little bit more of how this process even works. It's not your typical process. There is a duration here that you go through this process to get these cells re-injected into your body for them to work. But watching them gradually but quickly go from not being able to function hardly at all to complete no track of having the disease is unbelievable. We've even seen, there were examples where in the speaker's first 50 patients treated, these were lupus patients again, drug-free remission, indicate all of them. I mean, that is unbelievable. There are a few things I do want to point out though, about this before we move on to how it works. Layla had mentioned that these T cells, they're they're brought back into yourself, into your body, and they're the signals are then hunting down those B cells. And the B cells in some diseases are the most aggressive. Those are the reasons that we have the most aggressive diseases. And there are biologics out there today that do target that. And so you might be thinking, well, why is this novel? Well, the biggest difference is the biologics do strip the body of the B cells, but they still live in there somewhere. And the CAR T actually stops them in their tracks and gets into the tissues, gets into everywhere else that the B cells are infiltrated, and so that makes it a little bit different. And then when they grow, they come back and they replenish, you basically hit a restart button. And that's the difference. And that's why these so far, and the other point of that is we just don't know how long it will last. We just don't know because we only know how long it's lasted so far. So will this be a one and done? Will we need some kind of maintenance? We don't know that yet. But I did want to point that out as well.
Yeah, definitely. And so the B cells are the ones that make the auto antibodies. So the antibodies are the ones that are actually attacking your system. So for the medicine that I'm on right now, belimumab, it's a B cell inhibitor, which means it's putting the B cells to sleep, for that, maybe like, the 1 month that I have or 3 weeks that we have, they're taking a little nap, but they're still there. Like what Tiffany said with this B cell depletion, they really mean depletion. Your B cells are completely out of there, and then once the new T cells are put in, then the B cells that are created after that are basically trained to not have those antibodies that were created afterwards.
It's
And
fascinating.
it is so fascinating. And with those 50 of the first patients that the speaker saw, there was one patient that did have lupus relapse after 4 years. So that may be kind of like the lower end of when you may need to get the treatment done again. But so far, what they were saying is like 6, 7, 8 years for some of them that it's been just complete drug free remission.
Amazing.
Okay, so now going into the process. We talked about it a little bit, but we'll go step by step so that you know exactly what's going on in each step. So, the first step is the T cell collection, which is also called apheresis. And this is a typical blood draw. The doctor or the lab assistant will draw your blood and collect the specific type of white blood cells, which are called T cells. And this may usually take a few hours. Sorry, I take that back. It's not like a blood draw. It's more of like uh like when you're getting like a blood transfusion. It's more like a transfusion where they're taking the blood out, and your blood will then be returned to your body later on in the process. And step number two is cell engineering. And that is when they go in the lab, they take those T cells and they change them so that the special receptors on the surface that are called the CARs that help them recognize and kill the harmful B cells causing the inflammation in autoimmune disease. So they take your T cells and they program them to be able to kill all of the harmful B cells once your T cells are put back into your body. And this is all, very personalized. They're using your own T cells to be able to then kill the harmful B cells in the future. And step number three is lymphodepletion. And this is chemotherapy, basically. And this is before the modified cells are put back into your body, you receive a short course of chemotherapy to make space in your body for the new cells to work. So, to get rid of all of those other B cells that you had in your body from before. And this is not the same kind of chemotherapy that you may think of for cancer patients, where it's long months of harsh treatment and you have a lot of those side effects. It's a lot lower of a dose that is given in order to just take out some of those cells there. The next step is the cell infusion. So you get your CAR T cells back into your own bloodstream, like a simple IV, any type of infusion that we would normally get. And from there, the T cells travel through your body, finding and eliminating the problem causing B cells. And lastly is recovery and monitoring. Patients are usually monitored for a few weeks to watch for side effects. Some feel better within days or weeks. Others may take a little bit longer to respond, and the full effects will build up over time. And so, this whole process, it usually takes about 2 months, and you will be kind of out of work for a few weeks while you are getting all of this done. Because when you do have that lymphodepletion or that like chemo, your immune system is very, very weak. So it's, advised that you're not doing too much during that time. And then once you get into the hospital to do the cell infusion, then you're there for a few weeks just to watch for side effects as well for monitoring. So it is quite a long process. But in the grand scheme of things, if it does lead to years and years of remission, I think it's a great trade off.
Wow. It's just so I every time I hear it talked about, I just keep saying, wow. It's the best word that I can think of. This is a big deal. This is a new era in treatments. We think about it, we do a lot at AiArthritis in the prescription drug affordability and access space. We actually run the national coalition addressing government drug affordability reviews for prescription drugs in the states and also through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And through that work, we're constantly looking at prices of drugs and making sure we have enough money for innovative research like this so we can harness in on what is causing any affordability issues with at the same time making sure we can create new ones in the future. And one of the things that I always think about when I think of affordability is if I didn't have to take this biologic for the next 50 years of my life or whatever that is, because onset typically in our diseases is 20 to 40 or any age in children. So let's think about that. If you're 25 and you live to be 100, and these are expensive drugs, that's a lot of money for the healthcare system. And yes, these would cost quite a bit more, but if it's a one and done, and then you don't have the specialist treatment, you don't have maybe the comorbidities that there's such a bigger cost impact that we have to think about and the value of that and being in society and being able to work productively and go to school. There's just a bigger picture I wanted to throw in there when we're thinking of the value or why this is such a big deal. And then just think about the results. Remission, total remission, different remission than the word we're used to saying. Disease free, like never even had the disease. You could stop all other medications, right? Because if it is a comorbidity or if you're taking like, I don't know, how many medications do you take, Layla, for your
I
lupus
take
programs?
5 total.
Yeah, I take definitely 3 just solid rheumatology medications. That is inclusive of a biologic, but then there's some others because of some other symptoms and other things that I have going on that are directly related to my disease. So
Mhm.
it is really kind of a domino effect. So I think about reversing the dominoes sort of on that. There's also some evidence of reversal of organ damage and like in the kidneys and the lungs. And often we think, wow, disease damage is disease damage. But thinking about even just that, reversing those dominoes also, that in itself is a huge value. And then just thinking about the way to treat the autoimmune diseases and resetting that immune system based on targeting these B cells, which Layla already went through, but just removing them and just thinking about a bigger picture of what this all could mean for us. It's just really, really amazing.
Yeah, I think I mean, you were saying, like, my treatment, the monthly treatment is like $15,000 a month. Like, if you think about that multiplied by 12 and by how many I've been on it for 10 years. So that is just crazy, and if this maybe costs like $200,000 or something like that, yeah, like you said, it's a big number, but the math is just incredible to see how much money could actually be saved for the whole overall healthcare system for sure. And I think the next thing that a lot of patients and a lot of family members would ask about is the safety of this treatment. And the good thing is that it has been around for years when it comes to cancer. So we know that it is safe. And the thing is also with CAR T is that the symptoms that you may get compared to cancer patients are a lot lower, like I said, because of the lower dose that's needed in order to wipe out the system. And the goal isn't to wipe out the whole immune system, but just the malfunctioning part. Because with cancer, it spreads like wildfire. So you do need to, eliminate the whole immune system. But with our diseases, it is those specific B cells that we are looking for that's causing the issue. And there are serious side effects that can happen, like cytokine release syndrome or neurotoxicity, but they are rare and usually treatable. So it's not something that's fatal. It is a complication, a rare complication that may still happen. But all therapies are not risk-free. There's always some side effect that may happen, whether they be rare or more common. And patients that are in trials right now are being very carefully monitored and treated so that we know what to do once this is widely available to the public.
You might be asking, because I know I'm asking, do I qualify? No, I don't have any of the diseases that you mentioned that this is currently in the space. I have non-radiographic axSpA as my primary, maybe Sjögren's disease. It's not unofficial on my diagnosis, but feeling pretty confident that's what it is. But I do have, that's not necessarily my dominant. Who qualifies? And so, right now it is available only through clinical trials. The diseases that we mentioned, were the lupus, myositis, is lupus
Derma.
nephritis, the nephritis as well. We've seen it in Sjögren's, and what was the and what am I?
Scleroderma.
It's scleroderma, and that doesn't mean that it's not going to be coming down the funnel. I think it's important for all patients to be informed about this, especially as they start having more and more success. It's only a matter of time before they're having the clinical trials opening to the other diseases. So being informed is the amazing thing to do, right? Because then you're like ready to say, I could be in this trial. I think it's also just a new era of clinical trials in itself. It's a different process. You are very closely monitored. The outcome, the reward is enormous. So just thinking about, will I qualify? Let us know if that's something that you're interested in. We can certainly help identify if you're an ideal candidate. A lot of the patients who are currently candidates are those who have very severe disease or treatment resistant disease. If you've gone through, oh, I've gone through all of these treatments, nothing's working for me. They may have organ damage or high risk of progression and have tried these let me try that again, multiple medications, and it's just not having lasting success. So these are very difficult to treat patients who have a lot of damage or are more severe potentially than the others. Those are the best candidates for this type of treatment, especially because of the cost and studies. We need to make sure that we're helping the people, and think about that too. If it ever becomes, probably not in my lifetime, but if it becomes more mainstream and available to everyone, even with, milder disease, who knows, maybe we just wipe these right off. In saying that, the other thing is, when will this be available? And we don't want to get everyone excited thinking this is something you can go ask your doctor about tomorrow, right? So if you think maybe there's some clinical trials, I'd like to let us know. We definitely can connect you with some of those. There are clinical trials, over 30 of them that we know of and counting worldwide. And I'll timestamp this. We're talking about, August, September 2025. So depending on when you're listening to this, it's probably a lot more. Most trials are showing very deep, long lasting remission, as we said, going off all of the immunosuppressants after just one CAR T infusion. Unbelievable. Fast tracking is possible because the CAR T therapy is already approved by the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, in the United States. In some cancers, the infrastructure and the safety monitoring, they're already there. And that means that it can move more quickly because they're not starting from scratch. So, that means that it's a little bit more widely available in this trial phase. And the strong results for generating buzz in the medical community really are making it a high priority area for investment and focusing on getting them out into the market. But they need to go through the clinical trials. We need to make sure safety and efficacy, just like any other. And I do think that this is, if this does sound like you, if you are somebody with very, very severe disease, organ damage, and some of the diseases that we've talked about, it's something that is definitely, I would consider if I was a candidate. Um, anything I know that there's several other, I'm looking at my bullet points here and there's several other, but I feel like I may have sort of said some of this. So I'm going to
Yeah.
turn it over to Layla to kind of highlight anything I may have missed.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing though is that in the clinical trials right now, there are some that are in this pivotal phase, which means that the researchers are going to be applying for
Mm.
the for them to be able to be available. And if in the next few trials confirm early success, regulatory approval could even happen within the next 2 to 4 years.
Wow.
And so that is really cool to see because I'm sure, Tiff, you've attended a few different sessions over the past few years talking about this. And it's like for it to have like a tangible amount of time that this may even be on the market is crazy. And, there's always lots of setbacks that may happen when it comes to these trials and the bureaucracy when it comes to these different regulatory bodies. But anywhere between 2 to 4 years sounds amazing because we've been looking at it from such a far scope
Right.
from before. So that's really cool that we're able to kind of see that happen. And yeah, I really hope that you all are able to learn a little bit, whatever you may have known before, but learn something about CAR T cells, CAR T cell therapy, and how soon it may be available to the general public. Just talking about why patients should pay attention. We mentioned this before that yes, there is a few conditions that it's being studied in right now, but that doesn't mean once it's available on the market for those diseases that there won't be additional trials to make sure that they may be applicable to other diseases. So staying tuned in for that and all the latest research is super important. Even if you're not available eligible right now, you can follow the trial process, ask your doctor if you'd be a good candidate in the future, and even join research registries or patient databases to stay informed. And so at AI Arthritis, we actually have our own database that we are research database that we are inviting people to sign up for that can help with similar things like this and finding subgroups and biomarkers to be able to expedite treatment and diagnosis. So if you're interested in being a part of that and maybe even getting some updates on research, please go and sign up for our AI arthritis research database. It's going to be aiarthritis.org/database to sign up for that. And again, please remember to sign up for our Go With Us program if you are interested in hearing any more updates. We do talk about as many of the different 22 AI arthritis diseases as we can during these conferences. Of course, we aren't the ones that prioritize what different diseases are talked about during these conferences, but we do our best to try to give some updates on all of the different diseases that we can during those debriefs and takeaways. And anything else? Anything last minute that you wanted to say, Tiff, about CAR T therapy or anything else that's in the funnel for AI arthritis in the upcoming future?
I think you covered everything as far as make sure that if you're interested in CAR T or learning anything else about the amazing science, to sign up for the Go With Us to Conferences program. Layla and I and others will be reporting to you in real time. So it's a very innovative, one of a kind experience where you're learning from your fellow patients. If you really want to hear more about CAR T, on that sign up form, we'll have a little button that says, "Yes, I want to learn more about CAR T." So we'll make sure that we send you even more information regarding that. The database, Arthritis Research Database, shout out to Forward National Database for Data Bank for Rheumatic Diseases. They are the data bank that has been around for decades, and they built ours inside of their servers. So it's an amazing opportunity for you to get more involved in research. And just thank you again to Bristol Myers Squibb, BMS, for making this episode possible and a lot of the work that we're doing in CAR T. Also, while you're at our website, checking out all of our resources, signing up for the database, signing up to Go With Us to conferences, please hit that big button at the top that says donate, because we can only do the work we do with the support of our community. So we really appreciate all gifts, and just so happy to be talking about this on this show.
Absolutely. Definitely. And like what Tiffany said, at AiArthritis, we don't just represent the patient voice, we are the patient voice. And with your support, we can amplify it even further. If you found value in this talk show, like Tiffany said, please consider making a donation to help us continue producing impactful conversations, bringing all stakeholders to the table to discuss patient identified issues and patient infused solutions. Visit aiarthritis.org/donate to help us make a difference. And thank you again for tuning into this episode of AI Arthritis Voices 360. You can find AI Arthritis on all major social media platforms at IFAI Arthritis. And that's a wrap. We'll see you here next month on the next episode of AI Arthritis Voices 360. Bye.